If you're sick of the same old kind of survival roguelike, then I have something a bit different for you today. Hey people, voice talking to you, and this is The King is Watching, the kingdom building survival roguelite where our subjects will only work when we're staring at them. If you'd like to check this demo out for yourself, there's a link down in the description where you can download it for free, and right beside that is a link to my full playthrough stream if you want to see more first impressions and gameplay. We play as the ruler of a peculiar kingdom in a fantasy world. The subjects of our kingdom are famously lazy, so much so that even under the threat of constant monster raids, they simply will not work unless we are personally watching them. Fortunately, we are a pretty clever king, and have constructed a massive Lord of the Rings style tower with what is basically the Eye of Sauron on top of it. With this terrifying construction, we can observe a set amount of land within our castle and keep our subjects, or at least some of them, working. That's all there really is for the story, which is fine for this kind of game, just be aware of that. Now, there's currently only one king we can play as, but it seems there's going to be more rulers to choose from in the future, each with their own special ability and a super neat animated portrait. The first king's ability allows us to swap and move buildings to different locations within our castle, which is extremely helpful, especially when just learning the game, as the composition and location of buildings inside your castle is paramount. Each run is set to a timer, and the players can pause at will to consider their strategy or adjust their gaze. Every few in-game weeks, a wave of enemies will attack your castle, and your primary goal is to defend against these waves until the boss arrives. Defeating this powerful foe will complete the level and earn you lots of upgrades. Now, the really unique part about this mechanic is the prophecy system. Every 3 waves, we get to choose our prophecy, allowing us to decide which enemy waves we want to face off against and when. You might be tempted to make things easy for yourself, but keep in mind that more dangerous waves will earn you better rewards. These rewards include new buildings, artifacts which offer run-wide buffs, upgrades to existing structures, resources, and denarii which can be spent on more items when the trader arrives. Using these rewards to improve your economy and unlock new troops is the only way your kingdom will survive when the boss arrives. As for our castle, there's a couple different kinds of tiles inside to pay attention to, though only one has a different texture and both of them are just 25% changes in production speed to buildings on that space. One boosts production, the other slows it. Hopefully in the future there will be a few more terrain types to consider without getting things too complicated. The inside of our castle starts out empty, and our field of vision starts out rather small. Remember, our buildings will only work when we're watching them, so placing structures in positions where you can watch everything you need to at the same time is vital. We can move and rotate our vision whenever we wish, and we can eventually upgrade the size of our watchful gaze as well. The one complaint I have about this mechanic is that it's not super visible in-game. Sure, we have the outline of the tiles that shows us where we're watching, but I'd sort of like to see our big all-seeing eye tower towering over the kingdom and maybe animated to look in the direction of our gaze. When your primary mechanic is essential to your game's identity, that's the kind of visuals you'll want to include to highlight it. And there's a number of different resources such as water, wheat, gold, and crystals that are all used for different purposes. The space inside your castle is limited though, so you'll need to pick and choose which resources you really want to focus on and which just aren't worth the effort of harvesting. For example, crystals are mostly used for towers and spellcasting, while iron is best for arming powerful troops. Some resources can be refined to better versions for use in advanced construction or sold for some additional gold at a market. Creating an excess of certain resources like wheat is especially vital for feeding new soldiers, while more powerful troops will require other materials. The key is to gear your production to best support your army. The kind of troops you have in your barracks matters too. Some are tankier than others, while some can attack from a distance. Creating a strong army composition and an economy balance to maintain that army actually allows for different builds and lots of replayability. Plus, there already seems to be a solid variety of unit types for both allies and enemies. There's giant goblins, wolf riders, shamans, and even a dragon boss to contend with. Meanwhile, we can build training camps for tanky militia, cavalry, and even an oven to bake friendly dragons out of flour. Every unit has its own cute little pixel sprite and attack animation, and though we can't order them around directly, we can support our troops on the battlefield by casting spells. Spells are powerful effects that can drastically change the course of a battle. We can earn new spells as rewards for completing waves or produce them with different magic buildings inside our castle. There's tornadoes to carry enemies off, flashes of light to stun attackers, explosive scarecrows to distract archers, and even barrels of fireworks you can set off to inspire your workers for a time. There's also lots of little set pieces like trees and ruins outside our castle that can be damaged or destroyed by spells, but I don't really know what role these objects play. There is one spell that allows us to chop a bunch of those trees and risk summoning an Ent to attack us, but aside from that, they just seem to be something to accidentally smash with a meteor. Between managing resources, fighting off swarms of monsters, managing an economy, and moving your vision around to make sure you get what you need from your castle, There's a lot to keep track of, and it can get pretty frantic sometimes, especially when a really hefty wave hits your walls. But even so, the atmosphere remains pretty chill overall. At the end of each run, whether we win or lose, we earn currency we can spend on permanent upgrades. The one upgrade tree we have access to now includes spells, starting effects, new troops, and defensive towers. There's already a fair amount here, but that same upgrade tree has a number of different pages, and it seems there's going to be some kind of council system and other post-run mechanics to play around with in the little town. The upgrade tree has a really awesome design, by the way. In fact, I feel like the overall UI of this game is quite good, if a tad simple. In terms of quality of life, there are some unnecessary tabs to sort through, which can slow things down, and a sidebar counter of our troop numbers would be a welcome addition, rather than having to watch our army buildings to see when they're empty. Being able to set like maximums for certain troop types so you can keep your desired army composition would be great too. This game could use a bit more originality to its visual style in some places, but the artwork and music are very charming, even if the music is quite loud. Conceptually, this title doesn't stray too far from the beaten path of Kingdom Survival games, but the addition of the vision mechanic and the clever incorporation of strategic army building makes it a refreshing and really addictive experience. I will admit, however, that with so much content still locked, I only have a very small glimpse to work with. But, knowing the devs, I doubt Tiny Build will leave this game hanging, and I think we can expect a unique and very replayable game out of this sometime in the near future. Then again, I'm just a voice in your head, so what do you think about The King is Watching? Do you like the inclusion of the vision system, or is that too much micromanagement for you? What do you think of the pixel art style? What do you want to see included in the finished version of this game? Let me know what you think down in the comments. I'd love to talk with you about it. If you enjoyed this video, leaving a like helps the channel overcome the algorithm and keeps the king off my back. If you want to see more, subscribing is the best way to support the channel and keep new content coming your way, because I put out new stuff every single week. Thanks so much for listening to me today, and you'll be hearing from me again real soon.